was in the military for a while. Came from living in Michigan, and then went in the military. And when I left the military, I went and lived in Florida because my sister and brother-in-law were living there, and that's where I met Brett. He was actually a pastor at a church in Florida, and Church of the Mall, and so we met, and we became good friends, and I tried to volunteer at the church, and so then we knew each other pretty well, and they went on their first trip to Honduras, and that's when they got the idea for starting Trash Mountain Project, and they asked me to be a board member, and which was ridiculous and awesome at the same time. I couldn't believe he would ask me to be a board member, so I said, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know what I have to contribute, but that's awesome. I'll do that. So then, after me trying to do the bookkeeping and QuickBooks and all that stuff for a while, we finally got some help with that. And I mean, I was always trying to help with something, and I don't know, it would have been, so that was like 2009, and it would have been maybe, would have been the beginning of this year that I finally, I'd been on a couple of trips, and then I went on a trip to the Philippines with Brett and John, and then they were joking with me about coming on Trash Mountain full time, and I got from the jokes that it wasn't the first time they had joked with each other about it, but it was the first time I had heard it, which made me really uncomfortable and nervous, and it was funny, but it was like that's a little bit scary of a joke. I mean, to think that I'd leave my job and my family, my family would have to leave with me to come to Topeka, and so that was scary, but it was a cool thought. I just, it was a joke, so it wasn't completely real. And I didn't want to come right out and say, are you guys going to ask me to work for Trash? Because I didn't want that question, really. But then after the trip, Brett did call me and said, he'd been talking about some things and joking about some things, and I kind of just flat out said, Brett, are you gonna, what's all this talk? Like, what's all this joke? I feel like there's more than just a joke in this. And so then he eventually did ask me to work for Trash Mountain, and full-time as the IT director. I mean, I already been doing a lot of stuff, volunteer, and trying to do as much as I could, but so he asked me, and I said, well, I'll definitely have to pray about that. I love what Trash Mountain was doing, and I was helping as much as I could, but I had a job. My family was living in Florida. We were loving it there. I mean, my sister and brother-in-law lived with us. We had a really good, we still have a great relationship with them, but we were just really close with them when we were living there. We just felt like, wow, that's a lot to leave. And plus it's, I felt like, some of the stuff that I would be doing wasn't maybe not directly what I was already experienced with, like web pages and some things I didn't have a lot of experience with, just very little. So I started with a prayer to God that something like this just seemed like I needed a pretty good sign. I needed some kind of indication from Him that this was something that He wanted me to do, not just maybe not just Trash Mountain is doing great things, and just even it would be more than just a daily decision that you make to move and leave everything you already have and go. So I started praying that, God, I really need a sign, but I don't really want to ask for one, because I feel like I just felt like, that's almost insulting to ask God for a sign for something like that. So my first prayer was a little bit like, God, I really want a sign, but I don't really want to ask for one. But if I did ask for one, I'd probably ask to have someone call me in the middle of the night. Just doesn't have to be anybody I know, or it doesn't have to be anybody in particular. Just call in the middle of the night, and so that was I don't know, maybe that was a few days after Brett had asked. I had been praying that prayer. I at least prayed it one night with no answer, and then I think it was the next night. I got a call, 3 a.m. I had prayed that prayer again. I'd prayed the prayer that said, God, I don't want to ask for a sign, but if I did ask for a sign, the sign I'd ask for that I'm not asking for would be for someone to call me in the middle of the night. And that night, someone called me in the middle of the night. And I texted the person back because it was like 3 in the morning. I texted them and just said, hey, who is this? And they just texted back, oh, sorry, wrong number. So I thought, well, that's okay. Well, I mean, maybe that's just a coincidence that someone would, if that even exists, that someone would text me in the middle or would call me in the middle of the night after I'd asked for it, but not asked for it. And so I this time I felt like that was God giving me permission to ask for something. So I said, okay, God, I really just need to hear you say go or yes. I mean, I feel like if you're sending me, I just need to hear you say go or yes. And so I prayed and fasted, and I prayed and fasted that night, and I think that was a Friday night. I prayed and fasted again on Saturday, and on Sunday, Silas had gone to church with us, and he had gotten a little thing to draw on, and a little memory verse they sent him home with. But I was out back. I was just sitting out behind the house by myself, just praying, God, I just really need to hear your voice. I really just need to hear you say go or yes. And I thought I just need to hear it audibly. Like I just really need to so that I could know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and my whole family needs to be doing. And so I went back inside and I said, oh, hey Silas, what'd you do at church today? And he showed me his paper that he had taken home, and his paper said go, and it just read, go therefore and make disciples, Matthew 28, 19, 20, and I just kind of held the paper in my hand. It just, wow, that's the word of God on a piece of paper, and it says go. And I mean, when I'd heard that verse before, I guess I had heard it in the NIV, which says, therefore go, but this, simplified version that Silas brought home was go, therefore. It was just, so I just was like a little bit struck by that. Wow, that is as clear as it gets. That's the word of God. And it wasn't audible, but it didn't need to be, because it was his word telling me go. So that's how that happened. I just told Kelly about it, and I just said, wow, we have to obey. We just have to do this. And so we came on full time with Trash Mountain, moved to Topeka, and it's been so awesome. But it's just, I feel like maybe that was just me being foolish, asking for a sign like that, just me being dumb enough to think that God would answer a foolish prayer like that. Maybe not the best way to pray a prayer, but He answered it, and He was very clear. So